Welcome to Wait, What Do You Do Again? I'm your host, Megan DeFord. Have you ever dreamed of leaving your corporate job to build something of your own? That's exactly what Brian and Sally Krichbaum did when they bought Gilbert Chocolates, just 7 weeks before Christmas. Totally normal, totally cool. In this episode, Brian shares how he and Sally turned a 125-year-old Michigan chocolate company into a thriving modern business. It's a story about smart growth, legacy, and the kind of perseverance that turns uncertainty into opportunity. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you're listening. It really helps grow the show. Okay, let's go. Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. What made you decide to move from its background in engineering and executive management to a gourmet chocolate company?
Well, it was really a two-step process. I left automotive and went into consulting. I did that for about 10 or 12 years. And I was consulting to Gilbert Chocolates and working on improvement plan, things they needed to do. I have an engineering background, so there was technical stuff that needed to be fixed. There was sales stuff. The biggest thing was the chocolate factory was literally an 800 square foot cottage that had been converted to a chocolate factory. And the employees, the most common thing you heard when you were at the chocolate factory was, "Excuse me, pardon me, get out of my way." So it was just way too small. So the owner looked at the plan, we talked through it, and he said, "I'm just too old. I'm not doing it. I'm going to sell the company." So I went home and I told my wife, "I've been consulting at this place. Here's a candy bar. I think we should buy it." And so 6 months later, we owned it. So that's how it happened.
Did you have any background in chocolatiering?
Well, I've eaten chocolate. No, none at all. Not at all.
Were you worried about that at all or no?
Oh, if you knew me, you know that I wasn't worried about it because I don't worry much.
Yeah.
I'm kind of, we'll figure it out. So my wife, Sally, not so much. She does the worrying for us. If she was here, she might argue with that. But so, yeah, she did ask me. Sally asked me right when we were getting close to finalizing the deal, "Are you sure you're willing to give up engineering?" And I said, "What are you talking about? I'm not giving up engineering. I'm just going to be engineering for myself instead of for other people now." So, yeah, there's a lot of technical stuff that we've done as well as the business stuff.
So it's so interesting that you weren't worried about it. What enticed you to actually go forward and buy the company?
I knew the company because I'd been consulting with them. I had all the numbers. I knew the business, the business. I should clarify, just because I wasn't worried doesn't mean I shouldn't have been worried. Because not everything went the way that I wanted it to. But, I knew the business. It was a small local chocolate company, but the locals adored it. I mean, it was beloved even. So, they had that strong foundation. The people were going to support it, but it needed work. It needed improvements. So that's what excited me about it. Not just owning it, but improving it.
Yeah. And Gilbert Chocolates has such a strong legacy and history. And like you said, they're beloved. Did that worry you at all, taking on a company that had this very strong legacy behind it?
Not really. It was a strength. And I'm not a chocolatier. I wasn't a chocolatier, but I am an operations guy. That's where I spent my career. I knew how to do manufacturing. I knew how to run processes. I knew how to train people to do work a certain way. So all that stuff was pretty normal to me. And I was probably overly confident. The year that we bought Gilbert Chocolates was 2013. So coming up on 12 years. November 1st, let that sink in. We bought a chocolate company 7 weeks before Christmas. The guy we bought it from decided that he wanted to go to Israel for 2 weeks in the middle of October. So he wasn't there managing it. I couldn't manage it. I didn't own it yet. And so on day one, the employees came to me and said, we're out of this. We're out of this. We're going to be out of this tomorrow. What you going to do? And so we figured it out.
Wow.
And then the second week that we owned it, November 14th, there was an ice storm here and all the electricity was out. The malls were closed. The chocolate factory had no electricity. I ended up and rented a portable generator so that we could get back up and running. and just in case you don't think God has a sense of humor, this literally happened. My dad's an electrician. He came up to help. And so the generator was delivered. We got it all switched over and turned the generator on. And before we switched the power over, the electricity came back on.
Oh, no.
So they took the generator back with them. I still had to pay for it. But
if you hadn't have gotten it, the electricity probably wouldn't have come on. So it was your insurance policy. How was that? It's funny because when you think like chocolate company and you think Willy Wonka or like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you think like really happy fun. You don't think operations and we're out of things. And, we have these crises that we need to overcome, like losing electricity. How was it transitioning into this role? And then what were some of your biggest challenges as you transitioned and took over the chocolate company?
Well, I have this, my personality is optimistic. And like I said before, we'll figure it out. I had no idea how difficult retail was. I'd never been in retail. I never really had family or anyone to talk to who had been in retail. And I didn't understand it. The operations side, yeah, I had it. I understood the logistics. I understood the manufacturing. I understood the processes, continuous improvement, all that stuff. I actually literally as a consultant, I taught classes on that stuff. So that was easy. But the retail was hard. And learning the quirks of being in the retail business, it was hard. And then it didn't help that we had so much snow that year. So the sales were down thousands and thousands of dollars. And so we had all this candy that we didn't sell for Christmas because people couldn't get to the stores. And so it was, yeah, and I had a frozen shoulder at the same time.
Yeah.
So it was difficult. It was hard, a lot harder than I had anticipated. But, that first 2 or 3 months was the most difficult time that we've had since owning Go Chocolates.
Yeah. Was there any like, oh no moment that you had in those first couple months or first year that you questioned yourself?
Yeah. So on New Year's Eve, when it finally stopped snowing, it snowed from December 1st till New Year's Eve here. And we had 4 or 5 feet of snow on the ground. So that's what, people weren't out and about like they normally are. So on New Year's Eve, I went to the chocolate factory by myself. And I knew, because I'm a planner, that I needed about $80,000 to make it through the next year. And on New Year's Eve, we had $8,000. And I thought, well, this is going to be hard.
Yeah.
But the customers supported us. And Valentine's Day was extraordinary, and that gave us the push we needed to make it through the first year.
That's amazing.
By the time the third year came around, we were already making the plans to move into a new factory. So by the time that happened, things had turned around, sales were picking up, and we kind of had our feet under us. It took a while, The one thing I should say, and this is what, whenever I have a chance to talk to entrepreneurs or small businessmen in general, is don't get too far out in front of yourself. By that I mean, we didn't have any bank loans at all when we bought Gilbert Chocolates. My parents loaned us a little bit of money, but we didn't have leverage. We didn't have a bunch of debt to service. So when the sales went down, it wasn't like we had these big loan payments to cover. We never put ourselves in that situation. I talked to so many people who are thinking about going into business and they think they have to like go big or go home. And it's like, no, go little, be successful, build on the success. And over a couple years, you'll get bigger, and then you'll be able to afford, the $500,000 machine that you want. But don't go out and borrow a bunch of money for a big machine that you have to borrow money on, and then it snows every day for 6 weeks. And that's all the time you have with the bank. They're not in business to make you successful. They're in business to make themselves successful.
Yeah.
So,
and there's so many things outside of your control, like that snow. I mean, there's no way you could have predicted that to happen. I'm curious. I really like what you said about start small and keep building. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, you are optimistic. You do see the 50,000-foot view. You see the blue sky in front of you. How do you manage seeing what could be with what you just said of like starting small?
Well, I'm speaking for myself, of course, but we set out, some specific objectives for Gilbert Chocolates before we bought it. And one of the objectives was, in the 40s and 50s, Gilbert was a bigger anyway, company. They were sold nationwide. They had 250 employees in Jackson. They had a plant in Los Angeles, a plant in Scranton, Pennsylvania. And they had hundreds, maybe thousands of places around the country that sold their chocolates. A lot of that didn't survive the Great Depression. But John Gilbert, the founder, was a lot like me. He didn't have debt. He built it from the ground up. So even though he had to close some factories, he had to close some businesses, he survived the Great Depression and came back strong. So we have this objective, and we still do, is to take over Gilbert Chocolate's dominant role in Michigan. Would we like to be nationwide? Yeah, but we need to dominate Michigan first. Mm-hmm. So that's our goal. That's our objective. It wasn't an easy objective. We haven't accomplished it yet, but it wasn't something that was going to put the company at risk. It was something that was realistic. So we didn't go out and buy a new chocolate enrobing machine. We instead, this is me being an engineer. We instead spent about $1,000 on a PLC, programmable logic controller, which is an industrial computer, and put it on our 55-year-old enrobing machine to control it better. And it now works like, a $250,000 enrobing machine. But I spent, 3 or 4 weeks. My son was graduating from college. It was his senior project as well. So we leveraged some college engineering students to do some of the work for us. And we did it for $1,000 instead of $250,000. And we got 90% of the gain. And so that's good. And that's what we did. And we've done that same type of thing, a dozen times over the years.
Yeah, that's really smart. And so you've tripled the size of Gilbert Chocolate since you've taken over, correct?
Our customers have tripled the size.
Oh, customers have tripled. Okay. And what do you think has driven that growth?
Probably number one is the new factory. Mm-hmm. So when we bought Gilbert Chocolates, we had 4 employees that made all the candy. Today, we have 5 employees that make all the candy. 4 of them are the same, and then 1 new one. So, loyalty of the employees. If you talk to our employees, they would call us friends, not bosses. Mm-hmm. So we have a good relationship with them, and they like working here. It might not be, it's definitely not the highest paying job they could have, but we're exceptionally flexible, and employees, value that as well. But moving to the factory allowed us to, triple, probably more than triple our productivity. Not only did we grow our sales by 3 times, about 40% of what they were selling in the past was purchased chocolates and not chocolates that Gilbert made. And so I had this crazy thought that I own a chocolate factory. I can make the chocolates at a lower cost than I can buy the chocolates. And my employees want more hours to work. So why don't we make these things? Yeah. So that's what we did. We brought, 40% of our sales back in-house and started making it ourselves. So now we manufacture 80% of what we sell.
Wow.
we're not just a chocolate company, we're a candy store too. We have
Right.
Jelly
Yeah.
Bellies and, other candies other than chocolates. But 80% of what we sell in the store, we make here in the factory.
What was the decision prior to you of having so much of it outsourced in terms of the chocolates that were being sold?
Yeah, it was a mindset, I would say. So I'm an operations guy. The previous owner was a retail guy. And so before owning Gilbert Chocolates, he owned bookstores. He had half a dozen bookstores here in central Michigan. And he didn't publish books, he bought books.
Right.
So it's just the way he knew to do it. So you want to add a product, you go find someone to buy it from. And it's good logic for most, but we're not just a retailer, we're a manufacturer as well. So
Right.
we don't do it the same way.
Right. Now, your background is in corporate and Sally's background is in community leadership. How do you feel like those two experiences and expertises that you have helped you in small business ownership?
Yeah, so when we bought Gilbert Chocolates, we had been married for 27 years. All of that time, she didn't have a corporate job. She did some writing, some freelance writing. She did fundraising, volunteer stuff locally. And of course, we have 3 kids. An awful lot of her time was spent, raising the kids. I started out as an engineer. When we got married, I was an engineer. I'd been promoted a few times, and I was actually an executive in operations management at one of the large automotive suppliers. And some things happened there, and I just decided I didn't like it. I didn't like the constant bickering and fighting. And so I went into consulting, and that was a big transition from being in corporate. But being a consultant, maybe you know this, can be a lonely job. Mm-hmm. No matter how long you have a client, you're never really on the inside. You're always on the outside. It's hard to develop friendships. And so I was just weary of it, and we started looking for small manufacturing operations to purchase. And none of them were suitable. They were engineering firms. So none of them were really suitable for Sally to, enjoy doing. But when it was chocolate, her eyes perked up a little bit. And so she was more interested in that. And so it kind of met both our needs. It was like, it was something she liked, and it had lots of improvement that needed. So it was something that I was excited about. And, that's how it happened. When we bought it, we'd been married 27 years. We've been married almost 39 years now. And those last 12 years have been a lot different than the first 27 years. We went from like a typical couple, dad goes to work and mom takes care of the kids, and, we're together a couple hours in the evening. Now we're together 24/7, 365, every day, all the time. We are together. The only reason we're not together now is because of a medical emergency. So we're together all the time. And that wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. I was an executive. I was used to telling my employees what to do and then when you're going to have it done and come back and review it with me. That was my life. That's what I did. And so when we bought Gilbert Chocolates and I told Sally, this is what I need you to do, she said, and who do you think you are? You're my husband, not my boss. So no, I'm not going to do it. It's like, oh, it took me 3 years to figure out that you can't treat your wife like an employee because she doesn't like it.
Yeah.
So,
how is that? I mean, how is it? How do you, or do you draw those boundaries between like work life, personal life when you're together all the time and you own this business together and you're growing it together? What is that like when you come home and just want to watch like the Lions game or something?
Well, the business takes a lot of our time, and we both enjoy it, and so it's fun. But we do a pretty good job of separating. But there's times where, like, at Christmas time, it's 80 hours a week.
Yeah.
I mean, the logistics is crazy. We've got 25 employees, and if somebody doesn't show up for a shift at one of the stores, then somebody has to fill in, and that's usually us.
Yeah.
We're not, we don't have a ton of extra staff to just say, oh, rotate that person in. Sometimes, but sometimes it happens 2 or 3 people get sick the same day.
Right.
So, you just have to do it. So, yeah, it can be stressful, but for the most part, we've learned how to do it together. So she's got some of the things, some of the stuff that she always does and some of the stuff I always do. And then the marketing and that sort of stuff we kind of do together. Mm-hmm. And since none of us really have a marketing background, that's where the stress usually comes from is, how are we going to get the word out? How we're going to get more people knowing about Gilbert Chocolates.
Yeah. How have you balanced keeping old favorites in terms of like flavors with bringing in new products and creating new flavors and creations?
So that's a pretty interesting question. The first answer is we've been making chocolates in Michigan for 125 years. The recipes we use are 150 years old. So we're not really, an artisan chocolate company. We are a traditional old-fashioned chocolate company. It doesn't mean we don't try new things. In the time that we've owned Gilbert Chocolates, we've tried lots of new things, but the customers decide whether or not we keep them. We're not in Chicago. We're here in Jackson, Michigan, a town of 35,000 people, and our customers tell us what they like. And so far, we've got new things. We're doing the Dubai chocolates. I don't know if you've heard of those or not. So we've done those. And of all the new things we've tried over the last dozen years, that's probably the most successful that we've had. We did chocolate covered Doritos for about 6 months. And then at the end of 6 months, we still had chocolate covered Doritos and not many sales. So we stopped doing that. We did some fancy flavors because we wanted to be, modern so we had like a mango pineapple bonbon that we did for a couple years. It was really good. People in the Midwest don't like mango, and they're not really crazy about pineapple either. Mm-hmm. So we have a recipe. They're really good, but we don't make them unless someone specifically asks for them anymore. But so what we mostly have done is taken the recipes, looked at them, tweaked them a little bit. So we do an awful lot of pecan turtle snappers, just definitely more than any other single thing, especially during the Christmas season. It's like every day we're making more. They're really popular. A lot of the small chocolate companies that are like us, they will buy caramels and melt the caramel and use it. But we make it from scratch here. Mm-hmm. We have a 100-year-old caramel cooker, and we cook caramel in it every day during the Christmas season. And so we make our own. A lot of the small companies, you can buy cream centers from big companies and just make them into rounds and put chocolate on them. A lot of places do that. Not us. We buy sugar and corn syrup and orange mash or raspberry mash or maple mash, whatever it is, to flavor it. And we make our own, and we make them every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
We
already started every day. So, it takes a lot. We make about 30,000 pounds of chocolate a year. About 500 pounds of that are the specialty things, the Dubai chocolates. We make a dairy-free vegan bar because we couldn't find dairy-free chocolate. We actually make that from scratch. We make our own. But all that stuff adds up to like 500 pounds a year, and we sell 30,000 pounds of chocolate a year. So it's more of a service. We don't want anyone in this area to have to go somewhere else to buy the chocolate they're looking for. So, we try to provide it all.
Yeah.
But the core of the business is the creams, the caramels, and the pecan caramel patties. Those things make up the core, and we just sell more of those than we used to. And the other thing about Gilbert Chocolates is we're small enough that if people want something custom, we do some of that too. Again, it's not very much, but some. We have some businesses in the area that we make custom candy bars with their logos on and that stuff. One of the banks here in town sends out 400 or 500 boxes of chocolates a year as Christmas presents to their employees. We do a lot of that kind of stuff at Christmas time. So it's a pretty broad business. It's it's small. We have 5 employees here in the factory. We got another 20 employees in the store. So we got 25 people that are doing this work, and it's not uncommon to be in the restaurant or in the grocery store and somebody recognize you. It's like
Yeah.
even a little bit of fame is a little bit jarring sometimes. When somebody says, "Oh, I know who you are," and and we're on TV a lot here, so
Yeah.
they think we're friends, and it's
Yeah.
okay, we are,
Yeah.
but we don't know them.
I mean, you're the chocolate guy. That's great. That's a
That's
great
right,
reason
you're
to
the
be
chocolate guy.
known. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, okay, a couple of things. 30,000 pounds of chocolate is a lot of chocolate. And I know that you're a small, smaller chocolate company, but where are you sourcing your supplies from? Are they more local? Is it international?
So in the United States, the chocolate business as a whole, there's 3 big companies. I'll let you guess who they are.
Hershey,
And they
Mars.
are, yeah.
I don't know the third.
And one other.
Nestle?
And so they are 90% of the chocolate business
Sure.
in the United States. The top 2 are also the top 2 worldwide. So they're the big deal. So there's this 10% of the chocolate business left that is the smaller companies. But there's lots of fairly big, famous players in that space like Lindt and Russell Stover and Ghirardelli and Godiva. They're all in that 10%, and they're all hundreds of times bigger than us.
Yeah.
So there's about roughly 2% of the chocolate business in the United States that is small gourmet chocolate shops. And maybe, I don't know for sure, probably less than 200 altogether. And if you want good chocolates, that's where you're going to go to get them.
Yeah.
And so there is, so that's like one side of the business. All of the gourmet shops, the small local shops, are too small, like us, to manufacture chocolate from cocoa beans. We buy chocolate, and we buy the best chocolate we can get, and we buy it from Cargill, which anyone's in the food business knows Cargill is the largest food supplier in the United States. Not just chocolate, I mean everything. Cargill is in everything. Arthur Daniels Midland is the other big, so those players are the food companies in the United States. And so we buy our chocolate from Cargill, who has a couple of large factories over in the Philadelphia East Coast area. I think there's one on the West Coast as well. So it's on the coast because all these cocoa beans are coming in from the tropics, from South America and Africa on these big ships. So they have to be, close to the ports for economics. And so all the chocolate's made there. And you can buy cheap chocolate, you can buy good chocolate, and we buy the best we can buy.
Yeah.
The chocolate we use would be called Belgium-style chocolates. Belgium has strict control of the word Belgium. So if you don't make it in Belgium, it's not Belgium chocolates. But it's the same recipe, it's the same formula, it's the same flavor profile. And so that's the best chocolate in the world, and that's what we use.
Yeah.
And so we are Gilbert chocolates in the industry. The S on the end of the chocolate, if it's Gilbert chocolates, that means you're making candy out of chocolate. If it, for example, was Gilbert chocolate, it means you're manufacturing chocolate from cocoa beans.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we're Gilbert chocolates. We make candy out of chocolate. The only exception is our dairy-free chocolate. We didn't find a chocolate supplier that sold a vegan chocolate that was good enough, didn't meet our standards.
Yeah.
So we have a small machine, and we make our own dairy-free vegan chocolates, about 50 pounds a year, and not very much. And we have one little machine. The most we can do is like 10 pounds a week. So, but we don't even use it enough to do that. So really good bars, and the people who want to buy vegan chocolates around here know they're really good.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that happened on vacation. We'd been into a chocolate store, and they had these vegan bars, and we bought one, and it's like, we can do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
We should do this. So we did. And we've been doing it for a few years, and people like it. I like it. It's probably my favorite dark chocolate bar that we have here. So yeah, that's what we do.
That's how you get it from. And you said that the chocolate covered pecan snappers? Did I make that up?
Well, there's trademarks, so I have to be careful what I say. So we call them, well, what we call them in the factory is what everybody calls them. But what I call them in public is pecan caramel patties. So it's
pecan caramel patties.
And caramels and chocolates.
All
and
together.
We don't know what that is, but I can't say it.
Yeah, that's great. Is that your bestseller, or like what are your top bestsellers that people come back to year over year?
Well, for one, they're much larger candies than most of ours. So by weight, there's no doubt about it. One of those will weigh 2 or 3 times what a cream-filled chocolate will weigh. So yeah, by weight, it's not even close. And the caramel that we make is so good, and it's on top of the pecans that we buy straight from the pecan farm in South Georgia, and so they're delivered here. And, they're really fresh, and the caramels, really fresh, and we sell them, so many of them that they never have a chance to get unfresh here in the factory. So, at Christmas time, we're sending them to the stores multiple times a day.
Yeah.
Because people just come in and swoop down and snatch them up.
Yeah. What's your favorite? Or are you tired of chocolate?
Well, I'm tired of gas station chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate or any of those big three. I'm ruined for it. At the Cracker Barrel restaurant, one of those companies sells a chocolate bar that says, right on the label of that bar at Cracker Barrel, it says, original recipe. And what that means is everything they sell everywhere else isn't original recipe.
Yeah.
And you can definitely taste the difference. So our chocolate is loaded up with cocoa butter. Our chocolate, is fresher. And so it's just better. It's better. It isn't at Christmas time, especially. It isn't unusual for us to make chocolates today and have them in the stores tomorrow.
Yeah.
And freshness is everything.
Yeah,
the fresher it is, the better it is.
So what's if I came to the store and said, Brian, what is your favorite candy or chocolate? What would you say?
Pecan caramel patties.
Yeah. What about, could you answer for Sally?
Oh, yeah. Dark chocolate vanilla cream.
Ooh, that sounds good.
She's really an exciting woman, but can you get more boring than dark chocolate vanilla cream?
Yeah.
Our cream recipes are, 100 years old. The processes we use are, 100 years old. Our marble tables that we mix the cream centers up on are 120 years old.
Wow.
And we still use them every day.
Wow.
Every day.
That's great. I didn't realize that the recipes are 150 years old. Where are they from?
Well, our founder, John Gilbert, his mother was a candy maker. Mm-hmm. And she was born in Germany, and she had developed candy recipes in Germany. And then when they immigrated to America, she brought the recipes with them and started making candies in the United States.
Yeah.
But when she was started, milk chocolate wasn't invented yet. Milk chocolate wasn't invented until 1875. And so that's when that final iteration came, and pairing the cream candies with the chocolates. And that's where it came from. The original recipes, we have some of them, not many left, that are handwritten, and those are kind of blocked away. But we've got computer printed versions of them now that are in the factory, and we use the same recipes. There's small differences, like when Gilbert Chocolates started, there's this marshmallow creamish. It's not marshmallow cream, but if you're looking at it, that's what you would call it. Mm-hmm. Fluff that we put in it, and we buy it from a place in Wisconsin that makes it. Back when John Gilbert started his factory, there wasn't anyone to buy it from, so they had to literally, they had like 40 dairy farms in the area and egg farmers just dedicated to supplying Gilbert chocolates with ingredients to make those things.
Wow.
Nowadays, it's a lot more segmented, and other people make the same stuff in mass volume, and so it's a lot more efficient to buy it from them, and that's what we do.
Yeah. And have you noticed at all that, your work influencing other small businesses in the area at all? Or is there a cohort of small business leaders in Jackson?
There is. We're in the downtown area, so there's a DDA, and it's hard to know for sure. Downtown Jackson has been revitalized over the last 8 or 9 years. When we moved in, we bought a vacant building, and the last thing it had been was a pizzeria. Mm-hmm. And so we moved in. It had been empty for 10 years. And so we bought it and stripped it. There were rotten floor planks and everything. So we stripped it to nothing and rebuilt it. And when we did that, when we bought it, across the street, there was a vacant building that had been a comedy club years ago, and there was an abandoned tire store across the street, and it was dilapidated and run down. And it was like, I hope this stuff somebody buys it and does something with it, so it doesn't look so bad. And we were here working one day. We did most of the work ourselves, of course. And we looked across the street, and the city had brought in these wrecking balls and raising machine, and I completely raised it, and it was just an empty field across the street. And about a year later, they put up new apartment buildings, and so now it is brand new, 5-year-old, brand new, modern, 100 unit apartment buildings. And the block that we're on, there was a pawn shop and some vacant buildings. And so those are all full now. And somebody said to me one time, "Boy, you were so lucky that right after you moved in, they did all this stuff." And I said, I think they did it because we moved in.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your perspective, right?
Right. That's great. And what's next for Gilbert Chocolates?
Well, we're still trying to get that first objective of being the dominant chocolate company in southeastern Michigan. And we're still working on that. We have 3 retail stores now, and we need to improve sales in there, get more people to know about us. Here in Jackson, people know about us. We probably have a core of 5,000 or 10,000 core customers that support us. But we have a store in Ann Arbor, the home of University of Michigan, and there's a nice mall there, and we've been there for about 5 years. And so we have to get the word out. We just have to keep, letting people know. That's one of the reasons why we're doing these podcasts, is so that more people can hear about Gilbert chocolates. We sell online. The last year that the previous owners ran Gilbert chocolates, they sold $1,400 of chocolates online, and we've probably sold more than that this week. So the online presence, the e-commerce website, has still a lot of room for growth.
Yeah. Yeah. So with e-commerce, you said that when you started the business, or when you took over the business, there was a lot that you had to learn about retail. And with e-commerce, how does that work? How do you keep up with that demand, and how do you anticipate? I would imagine during the holiday season, you can anticipate that a little bit better, but how does all that work?
So our e-commerce site really has 2 types of products on it. We have standard stock items, and it's the same way in our stores. And that would be our standard assortment boxes. Like we have a assortment we call deluxe assortment, and it's got milk chocolate and dark chocolate and caramels and nuts and kind of everything in it. Yeah. And then we have that same basic assortment with just milk chocolate, the same basic assortment with just dark chocolate. And then we have a cream assortment, which has all of the creams but none of the caramels and none of the nuts. And there's a couple other, we have a standard box of milk salted chocolate covered pecans and other things, like that, cherry cordials. We have standard boxes for all those stuff. So all those things are available on the website. And at this time of year, probably 70% of what is ordered online is customized, because we also allow customization online. So you can click on a box that says, I want a custom cream box, and just tell us the 4 flavors that you want us to put into it. So we have all that customization stuff. This time of year, it's a big percentage. We also have gift packages. They're standardized, but really hard, really time consuming to put together.
Yeah.
And so like we have summer in Michigan, Michigan winter, we have an Easter box. You have to go to the website. I can't even remember them all. We have lots of these, gift packages. We call them pyramids.
Yeah.
They call them pyramids because it's got a big box and a smaller box and 3 or 4 boxes that stack up and look like a pyramid. And so we make those. At Christmas time, just like in our stores, the tendency is for more of the stock stuff and less of the custom stuff. So in our stores and online, people are much more likely during the Christmas season to just buy the custom stuff. So those are pretty easy. We've got standardized packaging. We ship nearly everything through USPS priority mail. And so we know what boxes fit in which post office boxes, and we ship them out of here. Last year, our biggest shipping day for Christmas was, I think, 850 boxes in one day.
Wow.
This is a company that 10 years ago did $1,400 for the whole year.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've had orders over $1,400. So, and in the stores, it's similar. The closer you get to Christmas, the more of the stock stuff is purchased, because people want gifts. Sure. And they're giving them away, and they might not even know exactly what the favorite is of the person getting it. So what's the sense in packing a custom box?
Yeah.
We'll just take this that's already packed.
Yeah.
So Valentine's Day is a little different story. I'll tell you a short kind of funny story. My first Valentine's Day, it was actually February 14th. I left the factory taking candy to the mall store here because they were getting low. I take the candy over there and I walk in the door, and our store in the mall here is about 750 square feet. It's not very big. I walk in that store and there are 42 people in line to check out.
Oh my gosh.
42. They're belly to belly. I mean, it's just jammed full of people. And of those 42 people, 41 were men.
Yeah, no surprise.
The women had bought their chocolates, but the men were woke up and thought, uh-oh, it's Valentine's Day. And it's always like that. Every year, the last 2 days is men. 2 weeks before Valentine's Day is grandma and mom buying Valentine's for their kids or grandkids. But on Valentine's Day, it's the men. Yeah. And the men, those last 2 days, they just want what they can get the fastest and get out of the store. So it is almost all prepacked stuff. Yeah. But up until then, Valentine's Day is almost all custom. They're buying chocolates for their sweetheart and they want it to be perfect. And so we spend a lot of time packing candy in boxes. Christmas is our busiest season. Yeah. The 4 days before Valentine's Day is our busiest days every year. It's not even close. The 4 biggest days of the year are the 4 days before Valentine's Day.
Yeah. And you were saying right before we started recording that if folks want to get their chocolate treats by Christmas, they need to order it by usually the second week of December. Yep. Yeah. It
varies a little bit from year to year, but kind of think the 10th, the 12th of December.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. And if you're not in Jackson, Michigan, you're not getting in line for these. So you got to mark it on your calendar ahead of time.
Or Ann Arbor too.
Ann Arbor as well. That's right. And what is a piece of advice that you would share with anyone who is thinking about or dreaming about starting their own business?
My biggest piece of advice is it's probably going to be harder than you imagine.
Yeah.
You don't have to be big fast. You may never want to be big, but if you're not providing an exceptional quality product, it doesn't matter how big you are, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And, when we do Gilbert chocolates, it's like quality's one. We're not going to change recipes to be more productive. We're going to make it the way it's always been made. And if there's things we can do outside of that, yeah, we'll do them. We're like anyone, we need to be more efficient over time, but you can't do the trade-offs.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest advice though is try, unless it's absolutely necessary, try to do it without involving a bank, because the banks are interested in the bank's money and not in your business. And
Yeah.
it only takes a couple weeks of missing a bank payment and they're knocking at the door.
Yeah.
If you've had 6 weeks of snow, how are you going to make that bank payment?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting balance of, you need to be an optimist, but you also have to think of the worst case scenarios, right? And when you're building your business and thinking about how you're going to fund it and all of that, looking at all of those opportunities and threats together. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you want listeners to make sure that listeners hear?
To be successful in business, there's a couple of things you have to remember. I am an engineer. I am an operations guy. And so for me, operations and engineering, technical stuff is fairly easy. Not just easy, but fun. For someone that doesn't have my background or skill set, they may not see that the same way. But also for me, and actually for Sally, my wife as well, marketing is hard. And I don't like it. I don't like it because, in operations and engineering, you do a task and you know what's going to happen and you can take and you can adjust and you can fix it. In marketing, it's like, I don't know what's going to happen. And so it's really hard. But to be successful in business, you have to have both. You have to have marketing, even if you don't like it. You have to have operations, even engineering skills. And if you don't have all those pieces that make your business work, you're probably going to fail. So what you need to do is figure out how to do all of those things. A lot of small business people focus all their days on what they like to do. But you probably should be working on the things you hate to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think that's really good advice. I'm taking a 200-hour yoga certification class, which I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I just thought it was interesting. And the instructors emphasize that all the time. The poses that you like the least are the ones you need to spend the most time on. So marketing is your thing. You started in 2013 and the landscape for marketing has changed so dramatically during that time. How have you adjusted and how has it benefited?
Well, we do some, paid marketing. Mm-hmm. I've never been a big fan of it, mainly because I'm an engineer and, I work with data and I want somebody to tell me how much additional sales they're going to get me. And none of the marketing people want to tell you that. Right. They like to talk about impressions and all that stuff. And I just don't care about impressions. I care about sales. Right. And so I don't like that stuff. We have a rewards program in our stores. It's a little iPad-like tablet. Mm-hmm. And people come in and they log into it and they get points, which if they maximize the usage of those points, it can result in like 10% off the cost of their candy. And it also has a smartphone app that goes along with it. And that marketing I like a lot better because I can see who's logging in. I can see how many times they've logged in. I can see how long it is between visits. And I also can communicate with them through the app, send them text messages or emails. So it's easier for me, in my particular background, it's, what's the right word? It's more concrete than other marketing. Like a couple years ago, in 2023, we were invited to be on the Detroit Fox station on Super Bowl Sunday.
Oh, nice.
So it's a couple hours from here. So we had to get up early, and we drove up there, and they gushed over our chocolates for 10 minutes maybe.
Yeah.
And it was Sunday morning. It was Super Sunday. The host, who's Detroit's a big town. He's relatively famous around here. He was in, a Lions jersey and everything, and, very enthusiastic and bouncing around, and he tasted our chocolate. He was appropriately impressed by it. So that was really fun.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were combining, this was like at 8:00 in the morning. And so on the way home, we were dropping candy off at our Briarwood Mall store to restock them. And we're walking into the mall, and the mall's not even open yet. It's like 9:00 in the morning. But one of the other merchants was in there in the mall, getting ready for the day. And she said, "I just saw you on TV."
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah.
And that for several weeks, we had people coming in saying they saw us on Super Sunday and they thought they'd come in and check us out. And that's, valuable. And one of the things I like to tell people now that I know is these local television stations, they're not that different from podcasters, right? They need content. They need stuff to talk about. And we've been on 4 or 5 of the Detroit stations. The Lansing stations, we're close enough to Lansing, Michigan, that they actually have a neighborhood anchor that comes around, and she's been in here a dozen times, I suppose. Unlike most small towns, Jackson actually has their own television station, and we're on that every couple months or so. And that stuff, makes a difference over time. And now, especially in this day and age, right? All that stuff shows up on social media, on YouTube or Facebook. And so you never know who's going to see it. Yeah. And now we're doing podcasts.
Which is great, which I'm appreciative of. That's awesome. So the 3 questions I ask all of my guests are, and I'll start with the first one. What do you love most about this work that you're doing?
Well, I like being in control of the business. I love working with my wife. She's I'm the best employee she ever had.
She's not here to verify that, but we'll assume.
And it's a fun business, and 95, maybe even 99% of the people coming in here are thrilled to be here. They're happy about it. They love the product. And the employees are great. We've been here for 12 years. They've been here, the longest one I think is 22 years. We've been with them a long time. Yeah. And, we're not just colleagues, we're friends. And, that makes a difference. It's a fun place to work.
Yeah.
Most of the time. I mean, it is work.
It is work. Days. Yeah. Yeah. And what advice would you give to your younger self?
I've thought about this a bit, and I think this is it. I think young people especially, there's this false security in working for someone else. And my advice would have been, don't buy into that false security. When I went to work for myself, I had to. I didn't have any choice. And I don't know if I would ever pulled the trigger and done that myself. But it's the best thing I ever did. So you may not make as much money. You may make more, but it's a lot more satisfying to run your own business and to be close to the customers, be close to the employees, and not just be another, cog in the wheel. Yeah. And that would be my advice. That security you think you have, there's 100 things that can happen that you have no control over, and you go from full security to unemployed in one day. Yeah. And that's what happens. It happens all the time. It happened to me.
Yeah, it happens all the time. And something you said earlier is you're a small company, you have 25 employees. And I don't think people recognize, because we're so used to these huge corporations, right? 25 employees it's a lot of people. That's a lot of people to manage and you're responsible for. And so, just kudos to you for that and for taking that leap and for keeping those people on and growing it. It's a small business, but it's big when you think about it. And how can people find you? And we'll put this in the show notes.
The best way is to go to our website, www.gilbertchocolates.com. From there, you can get the phone numbers of our stores, the phone number of the factory, email addresses to drop us a line.
Yeah.
The website's kind of the key to everything. And you can get, it's not everything that we make, but you can get a really good idea and see pictures of the candies and decide what you want. And if there's something you don't see, call us. Yeah. The ladies in the stores are ready to take your orders, and as long as we make it or can make it, we can help you out.
I love that. That's great. Yeah, I was looking earlier. I celebrate Christmas, and I was thinking for my Christmas gifts, I want to take books and products of people that I've talked to on the podcast. So I think people will be getting some Gilbert's chocolates. And I was looking at the wine pairings earlier, which is very fun. So
yes. That's a product that we've been making for some time, even before we owned it. But we've decided this year that we should start pushing that a little harder. And that's why you saw it on the website. That's one of our projects this year.
Yeah, it worked.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah. Well, Brian, this has been such it's been a sweet conversation. And I just appreciate you spending so much time. You never get to meet a chocolate maker. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Wait, What Do You Do Again? For more information about today's guest, or if you'd like to be on the show, please visit megdeford.com. See you next time.